Morning, everybody. Good morning, students. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, give a thumbs up. Fine. What about the others? Fine. Okay. Welcome all of you for this session. This session will be more informative session. And in this session and the coming subsequent sessions, we'll try to understand the power of mind. What exactly is the power of mind? You should know what is a brain and what is a mind. The difference between a brain and the mind. Brain is the one which is there over here in your head. That's a physical thing. Physical thing that is there inside your head is called as a brain. And how it works and what is the function of a brain is nothing but your mind. So you should be able to use your brain, enhance your mind. So what we'll try to do over here is in today's session, we are going to only see the structure of the brain and one important aspects of the brain, that is the cells of the brain, which is a neuron. So today's session will be only studying of the neurons and what is the power of the neurons and how much powerful those neurons are. We'll try to see in today's session. In the next session, we'll try to see how to enhance those neurons and how to utilize those neurons so that we can excel in our studies, we can excel in whatever we are trying to do. So this session and the coming subsequent sessions are very important to understand the brain, the function of the brain, and how to utilize that brain power so that we can reach new heights. So let us start the session. I'll be sharing my screen. Just give me one moment. So if you can see my screen, you can just give a thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, fine. Our channel is nothing but Math Quest, and we are trying to be awakened about maths. So we should know what exactly is maths, is how to handle maths. Now, to handle maths in a proper way, you have to first know how the mind works. If you have the full control of your mind, then in that case, how to study maths and how to score good in maths can be understood very easily. Now we'll try to study what are neurons in today's session. You can observe over here the brain, right? So in the brain, you have the cells, which are the neurons. What exactly are the neurons over here? Neurons are the specialized cells that are the fundamental components of our nervous system. So you can see this neurons. Neurons are the cells which are there in the brain, right? They are in the brain. And how does the neuron looks like? The structure of the neuron is given over here. Can you see over here like branches you're having? So I'll just try to highlight this one. So this is the structure of the neuron that you can find. Now these are nothing but the cells which are there in the brain, right? So we say that neurons are specialized cells that are fundamental components of the nervous system. The human brain contains how many neurons? 86 billion neurons. Can you imagine 86 billion neurons? In a billion, how many zeros are there? Can you just type in? Can you type in how many zeros are there in a billion? Just type in. Can anybody type in how many zeros are there in a billion? Good, 9. 9 zeros are there, right? There are totally 9 zeros in a billion. You can see it is 86 into 10 to the power of 9 neurons. So you can just imagine the size of the neurons, each of the neurons. There's so many small and 86 billion neurons are there in our brain over here. Such a small portion, but so many neurons are there. And what is the function of the neuron? The function of the neuron is neuron sends and receives electrical and chemical signals to transmit information throughout the body. How exactly it sends the electrical and chemical signals? Suppose if you're touching something over here, you'll be able to sense it, whether it is hot, whether it is cold. How is that you are able to sense that whether it is hot or cold? Because the signals will transmit from your brain to your fingers. That's the reason why you are able to sense this one. So this sensing nature is again brought about through the neurons itself. You're able to see, right? The sight which is there, sense of seeing. How you're able to see, again, the signal comes from the neurons itself. So therefore, you can observe that the structure of the neuron, in this case, how exactly is the structure of the neuron. Each neuron has a cell body. So this you can see the cell body over here, branches you are having. This represents the cell body, and you are having dendrites. What exactly are these dendrites? The branches like structure you can see here, right? Like tree branches are there, which are called as the dendrites, and axon, which sends the signal. So the moment you're touching some hot object, immediately your fingers or your body will sense that heat. How is that? The signals are transmitted through this axon itself. And how the transmission takes place from one axon to the another axon is just one neuron I am talking about. In such a way that how many such neurons are there in the body? 86 billion neurons are there in the human brain. And you can see that how this one neuron is connected with another neuron. It is through this axon. This axon again connects with another neuron. And that junction where the connection of one neuron, another neuron takes place is called as synapses. This word you have to remember, synapses, because the power of synapses we'll try to see. So till here, is it clear? Any questions on this neuron initial this thing? Because it's a new topic for you people. So are you able to get it? If you're able to get it, just thumbs up so that we can move ahead. If you have any questions, you can just put in the chat box. Good, Nihal is able to get it. What about others? Now, this structure, understanding this structure is very important for each one of you, because once you understand the structure of this neuron, you'll try to understand the power of the brain. Okay, let's come back to the topic. Now, how the connection is takes place. There are approximately 10 trillions. So, how many zeros are there in trillions? Just type in how many zeros are there in trillions. Yes, Umme says 12. So, totally power 12. Can you just imagine? It is 100 trillions means 100 into 10 to the power of 12 such connections between the neurons. That means one neuron is connected with another neuron. Such connections, how many such connections are there? There are 100 trillion, right? 100 trillion connections are there over here. So you can see that how exactly this connection take place. You can see that this is axon terminal, as I've seen earlier over here. This dots you can see, this are axon. So this axon, you can observe that this from one axon to another one. So axon terminal is being again connected to what? They are connected to the dendrites. So the messages goes from this particular axon of one neuron to the dendrites of another neuron. That is how the transmission takes place. So the transmission where it takes place is called as a synapses. Synapses, right? So this is how the connection is taking place. So how many such connections are there in the brain? There are 100 trillion connections between the neurons, which makes the brain to function, which makes the brain to transmit the signals. And whenever we try to study, right, sometimes we are very happy while studying, sometimes we feel annoyed, sometimes we are not interested in studying. So we'll have some mood changes. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad. And why is that that there are some mood changes that are taking place? It is because of the chemical which is being released in the neuron, and that chemical is called as a serotonin. And what does the serotonin does? It controls the moods and feelings of the human being. So sometimes you are very happy, sometimes you are not happy. So the mood swings that takes place, that is because of the release of the serotonin in the neurons. In the brain, this chemical is being released, and because of that, there are some mood changes. Every human has this mood changes, right? And it also helps in the digestion and the sleep. When you're having a sound sleep, which means that sufficient amount of serotonin is being released in your neurons. That means serotonin chemical which is there, which is being transmitted from one neuron to another neuron in a proper way, then you are able to have a good sleep. Then you are able to have good digestion. Then your mood will be not fluctuating. And then you are having another type of chemical which is called as a dopamine. This dopamine is very important for memory. A student who has a good memory, his dopamine release in the neurons will be very good. If your memory is not good, you're not able to remember whatever you study, in that case, the dopamine release in the neurons is very less. It is not appropriate. So you have to work on the release of the serotonin to stabilize your mood level. And if you want to increase your memory, then you should increase the dopamine level. We'll try to see that how to set right this serotonin and how to set right this dopamine in the next class. As of now, we are just trying to study the role of this neurons. So what is dopamine? It is important for memory, learning, whatever you are learning, right? Behavior, your behavior, right? Somebody are very kind enough, some students are very rude, right? So why this behavior takes place? It is because of the dopamine that is being released in the neurons, right? And also motivation. Somebody motivates you. You're very good, very good. You answered this question. Keep it up. Do well in the next class. So what you'll try to do, you'll feel very happy, right? And in the next class, the teacher has told me very good. This time also I have to get that very good from the teacher. So you'll try to answer this question. And how is this being done? It is because of the release of the dopamine through the neurons. So these activities are very important, and you have to strengthen the serotonin and dopamine in your neurons so that you feel that things in your body. Is it clear till till here? If you're able to get it, you just put thumbs up. If not, if you are having any questions, put that questions in the chat box so that you can clarify it. Any questions so far? No questions. Shall we move forward? Can you just imagine how many connections are there? So how many neurons are there? Can you just type in? How many neurons? How many neurons are there? Can you just type in? 86 billion. Good. And how many connections are there in the neurons? How many connections are there in the neurons? 100 trillion. Very good. Very good. Okay. Okay, good. Fine. Let us move on. So I was talking about the serotonin, right? So what does this does? There are some major roles that this serotonin, six major roles are there. One is it controls the mood regulation. Sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're motivated. This mood is being regulated by the serotonin. Next, blood clotting, all right? So clotting also is a role of this serotonin, all right? So there is some clot that might take place in the body, or even when something is being cut, right? When the skin is being cut, the blood is coming out. After a while, the blood stops there. It clots. So in that way, that role is also done by serotonin. Or inside the body also, if there is a blood clot, that also is being done by serotonin itself. Sleep and wake cycle. How many hours you're sleeping, right? And at what time you have to wake up, at what time you have to sleep, and all this is being controlled by the serotonin itself. Bone health. If your bones are very strong, if you want to make your bones strong, then in that case, the serotonin level in your body should be appropriate. The digestion and bowel function, right? Your digestion power, your excretory system, right? That is also being done by the serotonin chemical itself. Wound healing. If something is cut or something is damaged on your body, how exactly it heals itself, your body heals itself. That healing is also being controlled by the serotonin itself. Then you have the dopamine. What are the important roles of the dopamine? You need to remember all these roles because in the subsequent classes, we'll be working on all these serotonin levels. Getting it? And then coming to the dopamine also. As I told you, dopamine is important for memory and learning. You have to work a lot. If you want to get good marks, if you want to excel in your studies, this dopamine level is very, very important for you. So what are the things that this dopamine will control? This dopamine controls your working memory. Every day you're trying to do something, you remember, right? So that is being done by the dopamine. Pain perception. Whenever you are hit by something, you feel the pain. This is being because of the release of this dopamine chemical. Starting movement, right? So you walk, you're walking, you are running, and all those things. Those movements are again being controlled by this dopamine. Attention and vigilance. Now you're listening to my class. You're attentively listening to this class. It is because of the dopamine released in your body. And one of the important thing is the repetitive behavior. Any behavior, certain students will have some repetitive behavior, right? This behavior is again controlled by the dopamine. The way you walk, right? The way you talk, you do that automatically, right? Nobody says you to walk this way or this way, but you cultivate that habit of walking, you cultivate the habit of talking, you cultivate the habit of remembering, you cultivate the habit of eating. So this is natural, that is taking place, and that is being controlled by this dopamine itself. That is called as the repetitive behavior. And also learning, right? When you're trying to learn, so the memory as well as learning behavior is again controlled by the dopamine itself. Your drug misuse and addiction, some of them will go for addiction, like it is because of the dopamine is not sufficient for them. Few of them will go for smoking, few of them will go for drinking. Why they are going? Because their dopamine is not released properly and their dopamine is not working properly, therefore they'll go on a wrong side. So if it doesn't want to go on a wrong side, you have to work on your dopamine level so that you're strong enough, your learning increases, your memory increases, right? And then inhibiting, okay, these are some of the behaviors that the dopamine level has. Now coming to how exactly that we have to use these neurons and how the students have to try to increase the power of the neurons. So you can observe that the learning in the brain occurs through a process called neuroplasticity. Whenever you're trying to learn any of the new subjects, right? What process you are doing? You are using the process of neuroplasticity. While you were a kid, right? You learned your mother tongue. How exactly have you learned your mother tongue? Anybody has told you to write down? Like suppose your mother tongue was Kannada, your mother tongue was Telugu, your mother tongue was Urdu. Has anybody told you to write down in Urdu, write down in Kannada, write down in Telugu? How you learned that language? Can anybody tell me how you learned your mother tongue? What training you have taken? What training have you taken to learn that mother tongue? From your parents, right? From your parents. And how your parents have taught you? Have they told you to write, take notebook and write? How you learned that language, your mother tongue? What was the process of learning? Can anybody tell me? What was the process of learning? Because this process is very, very important because we are going to concentrate on this process of learning only. My entire base of learning and improving your memory will be based on this only. Yes, anybody who can just put in the chat box, some parents, but how have you learned from your parents? What was the process? Just think over. You can just guess it. Can anybody guess what was the process you learned from your parent, your mother tongue? How you learned? You had any timetable from morning to afternoon, you have to learn. First period, you have to learn Kannada language. Second period, you have to learn uh, Urdu. Third period, you have to learn Telugu. Was there anything such type of this thing? What was the process? Just you can guess it. Nothing wrong in guessing. Not able to get it? Anybody wants to speak? If anyone wants to speak on this one, you can just unmute and speak. What is the process? Not able to get it? Okay, now I will just try. By seeing them. Okay, by seeing them. Now, neuroplasticity, we are still learning. By seeing them, okay. What else? By seeing, talking them, right? They're talking, right? Just by listening to their talk. So talking is nothing but the words They were just using the words. You're listening to the words and you're catching those words. You're catching those words and you're absorbing those words in your brain. And by absorbing those words in the brain, you have analyzed those words and you slowly have understood that particular language. Are you getting it? So what you have heard the words coming out of your parents' mouth, and you're able to catch those words, process those words, and you're able to learn it. So words are very important. What you hear, what you listen, you analyze that in your brain and you produce it through your mouth. This process is very, very important. That is what you're going to do in everyday life. Your teacher teaches you, you hear what? You're hearing the words from your teacher. You're listening to your ears, and that goes to your brain. In the brain, you're processing out, and that comes out of your mouth, right? When you're learning, and that comes out in the way of your hand while you're writing in the exam. So, what was the starting point? The starting point was words. Words coming out, you catch those words, you process those words, and then you analyze those words, and then you have come to a conclusion. So words play a very important role in your life. If you process the words properly, you understand it properly, you understand it, you reproduce it properly. So in the class, when you're sitting in the class, you have to attentively listen to your teacher. The words coming out of the mouth of the teacher is very important. If you hear each and every word properly, you're able to listen to those words, and that goes to your brain, and you process that in your mind, and that it stays in that particular mind. So words are very, very important. So you have learned the language from your parents only through words. Listening to your words, how many times? Repetitive, every day. Right from the time you are born, you almost taken 2 to 3 years time to actually learn that particular language. But the power of the mind, the power of these neurons is so much that you can learn a new language only in 90 days. Only in 90 days, you can learn any new things. If you want to learn a new language like French, you want to learn some other language, German you want to learn, then 90 days are sufficient for you to learn that particular language. You want to improve your skill, all right? You want to learn the piano, all right? Or you want to learn dancing, you want to learn singing, or you want to do any particular skill, you want to use or learn drawing. In that case, 90 days are sufficient for you to master that skill. So much is the power of the brain. We need to understand that power, all right? So we'll try to see how exactly to utilize all these things in the later classes. As of now, we're just trying to concentrate on the structure of these neurons, right? So what is the neuroplasticity? The name itself indicates plasticity. That means it is plastic. This neuron connection which are there is a plastic. Plastic can be molded, right? What you have learned can be relearned. So therefore, if you feel that you're a dull student, nobody is a dull student. You should remember that no student is a dull student. Every student can get 100 out of 100. Only thing is, you feel that you are not capable because you heard from your parents, you heard from your teachers, you heard from your say friends that this is your capacity. You are 60% student, therefore you have to get 60%. You are 70% student, therefore you have to get 70%. You are 80% student, you have to get 80%. That has come from outside, but your ability is more than that. So if you can understand this power of the mind, you can change that one in only 90 days. So today, after this session, you first decide what is that you want to change in 90 days. You put a target in 90 days. What is the new skill you want to develop? All right, in the coming 90 days, you just write it down and you have to start working on that particular skill. And after 90 days, you have to show that this is the skill that I have acquired. It's very important that, so every 90 days, if you are trying to uh, acquire a new skill, right? That means in 3 months time. So 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, right? So in a year, right? So you have four such this thing. 4 threes are 12. So 4 new skills you can develop in 1 year. Just imagine throughout your life how many such new skills you can develop. But have you developed so many skills till now? Why? You're not concentrate on that. You have to efficiently use the 90 days target and try to learn. That is the power of the brain. You have to understand that one. All right, moving on, but we'll try to work on how to utilize that 90 days time to enhance this skill in the subsequent classes. Coming back to what I was sharing over here. So learning in the brain occurs through a process called neuroplasticity. So through the neurons, these whatever activities, a new skill you're trying to develop. Suppose you are learning a language, right? French language you're learning. Very first day when you start learning a French language or any other language, suppose say your mother tongue is Kannada and you don't know Hindi. You want to learn Hindi. So if you want to learn Hindi, in that case, what happens? Now, the first day when you want to start learning, your mind will not accept, you are not comfortable. Because why? It is a new thing. Whenever there is a new connection which is taking place, the new connection always takes place in this neuron. You have to remember this one. Whenever you try to do any new thing, the transmission takes place through the synapses from one neuron to the another neuron cell. The transmission takes place. And for the first time, for the transmission to start, the transmission will not go in full scale. It will be very slow. You'll be very uncomfortable. First day you're trying to learn that Hindi language or any language, you'll be very uncomfortable. Second time when you try to learn it, more transmission takes place. Third time, after 1 month, after 2 months, after 3 months, the connection will become so strong that after 3 months, automatically you're going to talk with that language, use that language comfortably. So therefore, for any work, any major work that you want to do, for the connections to become stronger, at least you have to give 3 months time. But are you giving for any of the work 3 months time? No. The moment you start the work, you want to complete in 1 day, 2 days. That is not possible. So try to understand the power of the brain. So therefore, it is called as neuroplasticity. It is plastic in nature. You can mold any way you want. So very important, right? So therefore, this dynamic restructuring of the brain wiring diagram is a physical basis of learning and memory. Even memory also, if you want to increase your memory, whatever you have learned, if you want to retain that in your mind, you have to revise. Revision is very important. It's not that you are just studying for one time and directly want to write the exam. That is not possible. You have to revise. The more and more you revise, the more and more the connection becomes stronger. Once the connection is very strong, then you'll be able to reproduce that in the exam in a very effective way. So it is very important that you increase that learning power, you increase the memory, right, through this connection. Next, coming to the how exactly this transmission takes place. Neuron communicates a specialized junction called synapses. This region you can see, the gap from one neuron to another neuron. This gap which is there is called as synapses. So through this, the actual communication takes place. And this communication is called as what? This communication is called as neurotransmission. And the process is called as neurotransmitter. So these are called as neurotransmitter. So anything you're trying to learn for the first time, you're learning any of the language. Suppose you're learning, you start with Vedic maths, you start with abacus. You start for the first day, you're not comfortable because the neurons, there is no connection at all. You have to build a connection. So to build that connection, what happens is it takes some time. First day, you're not comfortable. All right. Second day, you're not comfortable. First day, the transmission is taking place. Second day, the transmission is taking place. Once you complete the transmission, right, it combines in this way, it becomes very, very strong. And there will be no breakage. That comes only by repetition. You have to go on repeating. Once you start repeating, revise sufficient number of times, the connection becomes very strong, and whatever concept that you have learned, right, becomes very strong. So very important that you build this connection. So the same thing, the strength, see, you can see a clear picture of how the transmission is taking place. You're trying to learn a new language. You can see that the transmission starts from one neuron to the another neuron. Slowly, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. So by the end of 90 days, the connection will become so strong they'll combine with each other. And after the end of 90 days, you're able to speak that language fluently. So you have to give some time for that connection. That connection is very important. So you have to strengthen the connection. So when two neurons are repeatedly activated at the same time, how you can activate the two neurons? By daily practicing that particular language. You want to learn Hindi, your mother tongue is Kannada, you want to learn Hindi, every day you have to practice it. So what you are doing, you're repeating the language. You're trying to learn that particular language. So hence, it improves your skills, and by the end of the period which is there. So your actual process, as I told you, 90 days it takes, but by the time you reach 21, you'll almost be perfect. But to make it still perfect, you have to move from 21 to 90 days. So the change that takes place in this neurons starts from 21 days to 90 days. So first 1 to 21 days will be the struggle that will take place. Once you complete this struggle of 21 days, then from 21 to 90 days will be the process of perfecting yourself in any of the tasks, in any of the skills that you are trying to develop. And sometimes if you are not trying to develop these skills, then what happens is there will be no connections, and the neurons connection will fail. Now, how exactly this neuron connection fails? This neuron connection failing is called as pruning. That means you're not trying to develop any of the skill. Your brain, you can see that there are so many neuron connections that are taking place before pruning. After pruning, that means you have not developed any of the skills. So completely the neurons will be like dead. There'll be no connection at all. They'll just be staying wherever they are. You're not developing any skills, whether it is language skill or whether it is mathematical skills. You're not trying to practice new problems. You're not trying to practice math problems. You're completely not at all practicing. In that case, what happens? You will forget everything. There is no connection taking place. Ultimately, without practice, you go to the examination hall, you will not be able to write anything. So before you enter into the examination hall, your connections, your neural connection should be so strong that the moment you enter into that examination hall and try to write the exam, all whatever you have learned has to come. Those connections which are there strong will reveal you all the answers. So very important that you build that neural connections. Otherwise, all the neural connections will be dead and your mind will become completely blank like this. Right? So it is very important that you have to build up this connection and make the connections very strong. And how this connection will become very strong, you can see on the right hand side over here in the figure, this connection is very weak. Can you see here? These are the neurons. So you want to develop one skill, like language skill. If you want to develop from here to here, there is a connection. If you can build up this connection, strong connection, then your learning of the language, or if you want to learn some problem solving skills, right? Any of the topic in maths you want to learn, right? You want to build that math skills very strong. Then in that case, you have to build up a strong connection. Neural connection has to be made. If this connection is strong, then you can remember that particular skill, that particular problem, or that particular language very well. Otherwise, if the path is very weak, the path will break, you'll forget it. Whatever you have learned, you'll forget it. And to make the path stronger, in that case, revision is must. Whether you're trying to solve the problem, you have to repeat the problem. Solve again and again, again and again. Repetition is a must. You're trying to learn a language, try to speak that language every day so that the connection becomes strong and you're able to achieve that mastery in that particular language, mastery in solving the problems only by repetition, right? Now, once you have repeated enough number of times, what happens? The connection becomes very strong and there is a protective layer that is being formed in the neuron. That protective layer is called as the myelin. All right. So as the neural paths are strengthened through practice and repetition, they are often wrapped in a fatty substance. So your main target to be protect your neuron by this myelin cover. Protect yourself. So that protection can be done only when you're perfect in that concept. You're perfect in learning that language. So if you want to develop your mathematical skills, you have to go on practicing every day. Every day you try to practice. Whenever you're practicing, your total concentration on um, solving the problem. Your total concentration should be on solving the problem. I want to get this one. I want to understand this concept. Once you understand that concept, then try to take few more examples and try to solve by yourself. In that case, what happens? Once you're perfect, this protective layer will be formed. Once this protective layer is formed, your mind becomes very strong and you will be able to produce each and everything what you have learned in the uh, at home. All right, whatever you have learned at home, you'll be able to produce in the examination hall. So your main target should be to build this protective layer. Is it clear so far? Is it clear so far? Any questions? If it is clear, just give a thumbs up. Are you able to understand the power of the mind? Whatever the others, just give a thumbs up so that you are able to understand. We'll move further. Okay, fine. Any questions? If you're having any questions, any queries, you can just put in the chat box. No queries? Okay, now I have two videos, short videos on how the connection will take place in the between the neurons. Whenever you are trying to learn some new things, whether you're learning to learn a concept, new concept in maths, you want to learn it and you want to become perfect. In that case, the connection will take place among the neurons. You're learning the concept, a new concept, a mathematical concept you are learning. So there is no connection at all among the neurons. As you start learning, the connection will build. As you go on learning, what happens is the connection will become stronger. So I'll show you one video of how this connection takes place, and similar another video on neuron. So let me play the first video for you. Just give me one moment. See, there should be new connection among these neurons. Only then learning take place. Now these are the neuron structure that you can see over here. So almost 86 billion neurons are there. So this electrical and chemical signals are taking place. This is how the connection takes place. See, from one neuron to another neuron, there is a synapses. That means whenever you try to learn something new, the connection takes place from one neuron to another neuron and it becomes stronger. So whenever you want to learn something new over here, the connection should be stronger. If you want to learn a piano, initially it is difficult for you, but how to build up that connection stronger? Initially, when you try to learn, you'll not be able to get right learning of piano. But every day, if you go on practicing it, then it's like you're in a forest and you're not able to get the road at all. Initially, you're not able to get it. So as you go on practicing daily, what happens? A path is being created, a road is created. Say a path is created in the forest and you are able to get it. So it's learning also takes place in the same way. Suppose if he doesn't practice, what happens? Again, the road will go off. Again, it will return back to the forest itself. Are you able to get it? Have understood? If you understood, give a thumbs up. What about others? I want a thumbs up. Everybody have to act. So what exactly was shown in this is how exactly the new connection takes place. He has taken example of a piano, right? Initially, you want to learn any of the skill, let it be piano or whether you are trying to learn a new concept, you're learning some math concepts, new concepts. Initially, it will be very difficult. It's like as though you are standing in front of a forest, there is no way at all, right? You're taking a new concept in maths, you want to learn it. So when you go and stand in front of a forest, there is no path at all. But every day you go on practicing it slowly, slowly. What happens? The path is created in the forest and you're able to travel through that forest. So in the same way, any concept, any new things that you're learning, you have to just practice, all right? Whether it is piano or whether it is mathematical skills or whether it is any of the skills that you want to develop, what has to be done is you have to start practicing it. Initially, it will be very difficult because there is no connection among the neurons at all. First, you have to build up the connection. Initially, it is uncomfortable, but most of the students will give up initially itself when they feel uncomfortable. That uncomfortableness is very much necessary for you to learn new thing. If you're not uncomfortable, you not learn new thing. So everything which starts with uncomfortable nature, that is a human tendency. First, a human will become uncomfortable whenever he is trying to do new things. One, that uncomfortableness, that means uncomfortableness is standing in front of the forest. Once you remove that forest trees, you are creating a path over there. That means you start learning. You start learning new things. So initially it is very difficult. As you go on learning, the path is being created. You walk through the path very easily. So as I told you, for anything new skills to be developed, you at least require 21 days to 90 days to acquire any of the new skills. So it's very much necessary. I'll show you one more very short video where how the connection takes place. Once you started learning, suppose you have started learning the piano now, all right, you have created a path, but how exactly microscopic level, how exactly your neuron connection is taking place. That I'll show you at microscopic level, how exactly when you're trying to learn a piano, then how the connection takes place, new connections takes place. Let us try to see at the microscopic level. When I played the video, were you able to listen to the voice of that video, or only video was visible to you? In any way, just the previous video I played, were you able to only see the video, or were you able to see the video along with the audio? Only video. So there was no audio. Okay, fine. So this also only video will be there. Let me play it. Let me share that video. So this is the at the microscopic level, right? So the example that was given, a student is learning the piano, and when the student starts learning the piano, you can observe that there is neuron connection. You can see there is no link at all. As you go on learning any of the new concept, what happens? Slowly the connection starts building. You can observe that this is a microscopic level. The scientists have studied it. Now you can see that uh, slowly the neuron connection is taking place. So can you see there? There was a slight connection which was taking place, a slight connection. I'm showing you once again. You can observe the dendrites, which are there. They are trying to connect each other. Small, branches. Or you can see at this point. So at this point, you can see that there is a connection, a small branch connection that is taking place. This was the microscopic level that they have seen this connection. Can you see how the connection takes place? Anything that you are learning new takes some times. So you can't just be comfortable because I'm not able to learn that new thing, I'll leave it. Most of the students leave that one, and later on they will try to regret on that what they have done it. So it's very much important. Whenever you try to learn something, you're trying to learn some new concept, give some time. Let the connection build. Once the connection builds, you yourself will be comfortable with that. Nobody needs to force you. So it's very important that you try to make yourself comfortable by learning something new. Initially, it is uncomfortable, but later on, you build that comfortness in yourself. So, any questions, any queries on this today's session? Any questions, any queries? If parents are also attending this session, any queries from the parents also, conclude and tell you what is there in the next session. So before I wind up the session, I like to just thank all the students as well as parents who are attending this particular session. And what is in store for you? So in this session, you have just learned about actually the structure of the neurons and how neurons are working. But now the question is, how exactly to make this connection strong? How to make this connection strong? How to implement this in your studies? How to implement this in trying to develop your skills? So that we'll try to see in the next session. So next session will be again next Sunday, same timing, where we'll try to build up this connection. Whatever you have seen this connection, we'll try to see how exactly to build this connection, how to develop a skill. Now, after this session, what you will be doing is you will be writing down one particular skill that you're going to develop in the coming 90 days. So once you have written that skill, in the next week when I start the class, you'll be telling me what is that skill that you have taken up and how to work on that particular skill. I'll be taking the next class, I'll be taking one skill on mathematical skills, how to develop your math skills. I'll be taking that one and I will tell you on how to develop. On the same level, you will also be working on the skill that you will be developing. And you will be giving some time for developing that particular skill. By the end of that 90 days, you should be perfect in that particular skill that you are developing. So I'll just be all those who are joining this session. I'll just try to build up a WhatsApp group. Just give me one moment time. I'll just share the WhatsApp link so that if you are ready, how many of them wants to attend my next session? Those who wants to attend my next session, you can just give a thumbs up. So only interested students will be allowed to attend my next class. Those who are not interested will not be joining. I will just be creating a WhatsApp group for these students, those who wants to join. So students, those who wants to join, can just join using this link. And in this link, what you will be doing is you will try to put up what goals, what exact skills that you want to develop in the coming 90 days, and we'll be working on that skills. So just give me one moment time. We'll just wind up in 5 minutes time. I want to create a group. So I'll just be sharing the link. Go here in the chat. So only those students who are interested can join this group, and there'll be some activities which will be going on in this group. So you should be involved in that activities where you can increase your mind power. So I'm just putting the link in the chat box. So students, you can just join in the WhatsApp group. Once you're joined, we'll just try to wind up the class. And once you join the WhatsApp group, you have to decide what is that particular skill that you want to develop, whether it is a mathematical skill, whether any of the skills that you want to develop. You have to just put that skill in you have to just type your name, which standard you are, all right, and then you'll be writing in this way. Like for my name, I'll just put a hyphen, and then I'll write down whatever the class that I am, which class studying. whichever class you are, whether you are first standard, second standard, third standard. So any right from 12th standard or engineering student, whoever they are, you can just write down, and then you'll be writing down the skill. This is how you'll be sending the message in the WhatsApp. You'll be writing your name, which class you're studying, and which skill you want to develop in the next 90 days. So we'll be working on this one. So how many of them have joined? Let me check. And students, those who are joining should be serious. So the name of the group is Math Mindset Training. If any of the parents is actually has joined this class, I want just your feedback in the group. You can just send your feedback of 2 to 3 lines, how the session or what you're expecting from this particular class, so that I'll get an idea of what the parents are expecting. Okay, we'll wind up the class now. Have a nice time, and everybody put the your target for the next 90 days. What is your which skill you want to develop, and based on that, we'll try to work. I'll just give a general plan the next week on how exactly to build up that this thing. What are the activities that you have to do to strengthen that neuron, and then you can work on that particular aspect, and then you try to improve it on that particular target, whatever you have set in. So till next week, have a nice time. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Sunday. So meet you in the next week session with the energy. Meanwhile, we'll be having a chat in the WhatsApp group. All right. Goodbye. Have a nice time.